Hi, Ron, and welcome to another episode of Grassroots Racer. I hope you all had a great break over Easter. And after a busy couple of weeks of competing in the Bendigo Car Club in the Subaru, I'm excited to be heading to Winter Motor Raceway again in the Formula Vs. A quick shout out to my partners, Eaglehawk Hire, for helping me out so much lately because we've been using some of their trailers to transport the Subaru to the Bendigo Car Club. They have a vast range of hire and sales equipment and products to suit both commercial needs and DIY projects, from trailers to electric scissor lifts, concrete mixers, stump munchers, and the team also offers servicing and machinery with genuine parts. So check them out. But on to tonight's guest. This driver has been involved in motorsport from a young age, progressing from go-karting to where he has raced categories like F4, S5000, the Bathurst 6 Hour, and he's done heaps more. So to find out more, I welcome Antonio Astuti to the show. So I know you started at quite a young age. What inspired you to get into motorsport?
Oh, yeah, it'd have to be family, I guess. Like as I was a kid, I grew up around dad and he was always at the track running race cars. So dad ran a Formula 3 team here in Australia. And yeah, I would have been 5, 6, 7 running around the track with my younger brother. And when I was about 7, dad got me my first go-kart. So I guess that's how it all started.
Yeah, and you did go-karting for a while. Now, is it Valentino? He's your younger brother, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah, younger
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah, so he recently won the Formula 4 championship, I believe.
Yeah, he won that, the Australian Championship. So
Yeah.
that was a good moment, cool thing to happen.
Yeah, and just quickly back to you. We were talking about you did go-karting. Did you have any favorite memories or special achievements?
There's a lot of memories. Uh, Achievements wise, I'd say probably wasn't really result based, but more so in my last year of karting, I raced KZ2, and towards the end of the season, namely at the final round at Todd Road, I was able to run up the front, like top five podium contention positions, even in the final. So I think that was a cool thing to be able to, just me and dad run a KZ and get it up there. Uh, Favorite moment would have to be when Valentino won his um, Australian Championship round in KA2. That was pretty special seeing him win. So yeah, that'd be the two that come to mind.
Yeah, and obviously, there's a lot of go-kart tracks in Australia. Did you have a favorite track?
Oh, favorite track, geez. Newcastle's pretty awesome because of the undulation. It's super, super tight in some areas and really bumpy. Oh, yeah, I'd have to say probably Newcastle for that reason.
Yeah. We had a few tracks like that in Victoria.
So, yeah, I guess recently I had a steer at Rochester, which was a first for
Yeah.
a bit of fun. That was cool. Where else is there? I guess Bendigo, that's pretty awesome. For a small
Yeah.
track, it feels like it's quite fast because of how narrow and bumpy it is. So yeah, they're awesome fun as well.
Yeah, that is my home club. That's about 10 minutes down the road, so
Yeah,
it is a lot of fun. We used to say that if you could get that track in Oakley right, you could be virtually quick anywhere.
yeah, yeah. Basically, I remember growing up hearing that as well.
Yeah. I only did karting for about 5 years. I did junior lights for 1 year and then that was it. Moved into cars.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember junior light. I ran that as well. So what cars are you running at the moment?
I raced Formula V.
Oh, awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's mega.
Yeah. Not had too much luck though, so hopefully we can change that.
Oh, standard motorsport, 50% luck, 50% everything else.
Yeah. But when you progressed into cars from karting, obviously, what race series did you start in?
I started in Formula 4. So in my first year of F4, I ran the car with dad as well. So just my brother turning spanners, and we did it ourselves with my engineer at the time, James, who had been around when dad was running cars. Um, and then that moved into my second year of cars, which was also in Formula 4, but with a team in the second year, AGI.
And how did that sort of come about? Did you show them in the first year that you could perform up the front and then you were able to go to them? Um, and obviously get a drive, or did they come to you?
I think it was a mix of a few factors. Basically, I guess since Dad had experience with open wheelers in the past, we thought we would be able to run the car ourselves, which we did, and we had some decent weekends. But just when there are other teams that had, I guess, what was it, 4, maybe more years of experience with those cars at that point, it was a bit hard to try and, you know, it was my first year in cars, so I wanted to develop as a driver. So it was
Mm.
hard to develop me and the car at the same time. So I think we decided to try and go with a team just so that we knew the car was there and it was more so up to me to perform and develop as a driver.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things is, as you're developing as a driver, you would have come out of karting jumping into an open wheeler. Open wheelers are very different to karts in a sense. It is mostly turn and go, but you've got suspension, which is totally different to anything you've ever done in go-karting. Where did you
Yeah.
find yourself after driving in Formula 4?
Well, after I did my last season of Formula 4 in 2019, and after that, I was aiming to run S5000 in 2020, and we would have done that as a like ourselves again. However, um, that was when I guess the world stopped. So we were parked up at the Grand Prix, ready for what would have been race one, and got the call that we're ready to pack up, go home on the what was it, the Friday, I think. So yeah, 2020 didn't happen, and that led into 2021 when racing started to pick up again, and I ran the S5000 for 3 of the Australian Championship rounds.
Yeah, and what sort of tracks did they run at?
When I ran the 5000, round one was in Tasmania at Simmons Plains. We then went to Phillip Island and Sandown. After that, they had a round at Sydney, Bathurst, but I didn't do those rounds.
Yeah, they actually don't race them at Bathurst anymore, do they? Because of how dangerous they can be.
Yeah, I guess it would have been cool to see them. I wasn't there or even been one at Bathurst, but I guess they've got their reasons and they're not heading back from what I'm aware this year or next. So we'll see
Yeah.
what might change in the future.
And if I'm correct as well, did you do the Bathurst 6 hour as well in 2021?
Yeah, that was an awesome experience. I got to try. Well, I didn't get to finish it, but we were there. We had a shot, and yeah, that's probably one of the more memorable weekends I've had at the racetrack.
Yeah, and how did that weekend come about? Did you get a last minute drive or were you planning it for a while?
Oh, I guess it was somewhat last minute because I was racing S5000 and we were meant to be racing, or I was planning on racing the S5000 at Bathurst. There was no way I was going to rock up and learn how to drive Bathurst in this 560 horsepower open wheeler. So it was pretty close to the 6 hour time, close to Easter, and I just started calling. I exhausted my contacts list. I called everyone trying to find a drive. And well, I didn't, it's not like I had a big amount of budget, if any, to go and find a driver. So I was sort of hoping that someone, needed a driver and managed to get in contact with a gentleman who was managing the team and they just needed someone that was tall. He's like, if you're tall and you can get there, we'll put you in. So I rocked up at Bathurst having never seen the car and having never driven the track and sort of went from there.
How tall was he looking for?
Oh, I guess me tall. So I'm about what, 6'1" ish, and I
Yeah.
think that fit the bill pretty well.
Well, if you're I guess in a category like that, you'd want to have similar drivers. Um, I guess in height and potentially in shape as well, because if it's a fixed seat, it'd be a bit tricky.
Yeah. I was probably a little bit slimmer than one of my co-drivers were, but we made an insert, and it was an interesting seat insert, but it held me in there, so it did the job.
And you know, obviously you said you didn't finish.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was a pretty eventful weekend. We just had a a gremlin that turned out to be something super simple, but we never got to iron it out over the weekend. So the drama in the end was a lack of fuel pressure, and we went through almost everything, but it ended up just being that the fuel lines in the tank weren't rated to be fuel submersible, so they had perished. So when it would, drink a couple liters of fuel, it would start to lose fuel pressure. So across the
Yeah.
weekend, we had a couple of weird moments on track, but yeah, they were all for memories.
Did you have any scary moments where you started heading towards the wall and just missed it?
No, there was in the first practice, something had broken on the car. And as I was driving it, I guess we knew that the car was a bit weird, but it was very important that I got laps to learn the car and the track. So they sent me out and basically said, whatever you do, just don't put it in the wall. And the car was basically just snaking everywhere. Like it felt like you were trying to drive a shopping trolley. And that was scary because I'm trying to figure out how to drive this thing and how to drive the track and managing that. And in the same session, as I'm driving, I'm like in the cabin. I'm like, oh, it's a bit smoky in here. Is that just a tin top thing? I don't know. And turned out that it had broken oil fitting in the engine bay. And yeah, by the
Mm.
time I had done a couple of radio calls, the cabin was full of smoke, and I had to park it on Conrod. So
Ooh,
yeah, not ideal.
yeah. Is it hard getting communication when you're at the top of the mountain?
Um, it was all right. It was all right. I think the team had pretty good radios, so
Yeah, and obviously you did the 6 hour, you did S5000 in 2021. You have driven a few cool cars. Did you have a favorite that you moved on into?
favorite car I've driven, it would have to be it'd have to be between, even though the S5000 is pretty cool, it'd have to be between, I drove a Formula Holden once at Winton, so that's basically an old Formula 3000, like an old F2 with a Holden, a locally made engine. And that was, H pattern manual, a lot of aero slick, so sort of gave you a small taste of what driving an F1 would have been like back then, and that was cool. But I'd have to say, I got to drive a V12 Vantage GT3, so
Yeah.
fully fledged Aston, and yeah, that was mega at Phillip Island. Getting to use a bit of aero, and yeah, big cars, a lot of power.
Yeah, definitely. And what was that event for? Was it just a practice day or was it for a race?
Yeah, just a practice day. So I was doing some data engineering on the car, and just and that day was full of a lot of GT cars that were running at the 12 hour because it was what, early Jan. And so you had like the Vodafone Merc there with
Yeah.
Benkisbergen and all these cars. And we got to about lunch, and the owner of the car said, all right, I'm pretty busy this coming week, so I've got to head back to Melbourne. Um, there's a new set of tires on the car now that are scrubbed. Go out, do a couple runs, and let me know how you go. It was it was all last minute. Just put my helmet on, hopped in, and had a couple sessions in the car.
Yeah. I think it was Joey Logano. He said when he was growing up, he always brought his helmet with him just in case.
Oh yeah, yeah, you have to, just in case. Those little opportunities like that, if you wouldn't have had your helmet, you miss out.
Yeah. What racing do you enjoy watching and what do you hope to race in?
Recently, I've found a new acquired love for NASCAR. I guess I've always loved it, especially the like early or late 80s style. They're my favorite. So I've been watching a lot of NASCAR recently. But in terms of where I'd love to end up, I've always followed endurance racing and loved like Le Mans, uh, Nürburgring, that sort of thing. So that's definitely, the aspiration where I'd like to hopefully see myself.
Yeah. It is very popular either in America and Asia. So do you see yourself maybe getting a gig in LMP2 or GT4, GT3, whatever?
Yeah, it'd be nice. I guess at the moment I'm working on some things to hopefully make something like that happen fingers crossed. But yeah, if all falls into place, then hopefully, yeah, it'd be cool to end up in a GT4 or an LMP2.
Yeah, I believe they have a series, which they race in Australia, don't they? I think it's Le Mans Asia, isn't it? And then they come to Australia sometimes.
Yeah, they had I think the last time they had it was at the Bend,
Yeah.
the prototypes. That was pretty cool.
Uh, I'm just having a quick look.
I think that was part of their Asian Le Mans series from memory.
Hmm. They're pretty cool. So you're saying though the goal would be to end up in LMP2 if you're to do endurance racing?
Oh, anything, even if I was in, GT3, LMP1, that'd be nice. But absolutely anything, as long as I'm in that seat doing a co-drive stint, spending my weekend somewhere like Sebring, I think that'd be
Yeah.
pretty mega.
Yeah, it would be. And what do you think about those new hypercars? Do you like the looks of them?
Yeah, no, I think they're cool. It's good. It's brought a bit more attention back to endurance racing, and it's awesome to see a lot of manufacturers. I'm looking at my other desktop screen, which is the Cadillac. So yeah, it's cool to see all the new and the LMDH in
Oh
America,
yeah.
like all the different ones now. So if I was, planning on going to Le Mans to watch it this year, would definitely be the year.
And what setbacks have you had, faced in your career where you've had to get some motivation to keep going?
Um, I guess motorsport's never really a flat line, You have good days and bad
Mhm.
days, but probably one that would come to mind was when I'd done round three of the S5000 championship at Sandown, and to move forward and keep contesting the series, I just didn't have the budget. So it was pretty frustrating because we had just sort of, since we ran the car ourselves, we had just gotten to grips with, you know, ironing out some little issues and getting the car feeling all right. And I just started to perform at a level of which I was happy with. But then, when you have a budget shortfall, then it doesn't matter how well things are going. It sort of just puts a pause on things. So that was pretty frustrating, bit of a low point.
Yeah, I can imagine. If you're running an S5000 category, you'd want to continue it on. Was there anything good that you learned though from S5000s that you've been able to apply to your other racing?
Yeah, of course. I guess there's been like a few driving techniques. An S5000, even though it's a open wheeler, massive wings on it, it's still not anything like, say, a Formula 2. It's still very heavy and it has a lot of power. So you almost have to drive it fairly similar to a supercar. So I
Yeah,
guess I got to learn some techniques that are similar to driving, let's say, a supercar. And I guess I can take that from it.
you've driven a supercar, have you?
No, not yet. Fingers crossed. Not
Do you
yet.
do any sim racing online?
A little bit on and off. You hop on, do well, and then you get taken out, or you get a 4X from someone else, and that gives you a little 2 week break. But yeah, I try to. I guess a memory from that would have been I won the 12, or not in top split, but we won the 12 hours of Silverstone in GD4, and I did that with Clay Richards.
Oh
So
yeah,
that was good fun.
yeah. Clay's pretty good on the simulator.
Yeah, he's all right. I'm faster than
Oh, okay.
him.
Yeah, I do a bit of iRacing myself, actually. So I like to get around a little bit.
Maybe we'll have to tee up an enduro.
Yeah,
Get Clay
definitely.
on board.
I've done a few. I actually did what was it? A Daytona 6 hour, and we finished on the podium in the LMP2. So we're really happy with that.
Oh, geez. Yeah, it's mad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a
it's
leg
awesome
race.
fun.
It was only a leg
Oh,
race,
really?
but yeah, it was fun.
Still, yeah, no, they're awesome.
And I guess I've done a few enduros. I did a Watkins Glen 6 hour. We were leading the race, and then one of my teammates got a bit ambitious, passing a back marker, and yeah,
Oh,
wiped us out. So that
oh,
was no good.
geez.
And we were
I
like
guess
5 hours in.
oh, really?
Yeah, so not
Oh,
much we can do
not
though.
ideal.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, but in terms of iRacing, I I sometimes question them when you get hit up the bum and then you get a 4X.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Look, it's not ideal. I guess it'd be so hard, for them to actually police everything. So
yeah.
it's probably just the absolute best system that they can use. But yeah, it's frustrating.
Mm. And I can see why, even if you were hit up the rear, you'd get a 4X because sometimes you could brake check the one behind, and so there's all
Yeah,
different factors.
yeah. I guess anything's possible on the sim.
Yeah, I've done some pretty crazy stuff. But what are you racing currently, and have you got any future plans ahead?
At the moment, I haven't really got not doing any racing at the moment. I'm sort of occupied by doing a bit of driver coaching, so working with a mix of road cars and race cars. Sort of anything from you know doing data to coaching in the car itself. Um, Future plans would be I am working on something or some stuff to hopefully keep chasing the endurance pathway. So can't quite open the lid on that yet because it's still in the working stage. But hopefully, as things progress in hopefully a couple months or so, we'll be able to discuss that more.
So in a couple months, you'll be racing the Bathurst 1000. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Co-driver announcement.
Mm. Would you plan on doing more 6 hours or 12 hours if you get the opportunity at Bathurst?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, sure. I'd love to. Unfortunately, the team that I ran with the 6 hour that I did, they're not running that car anymore. So it would have been awesome to return with them. However, I'm sure I'll make an opportunity pop up to return to the mountain.
Yeah. And you know how you said before you liked watching NASCAR? If an opportunity did come up to jump in America and jump in the Xfinity series, would you consider go over there and doing it?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I'd strap right in, give it a red hot crack. Like, oh, who was it recently? Was it Ryan Turek? Or yeah, it might have been. I think it was Ryan Turek, but I might be wrong. He hopped into a NASCAR. Don't think he's ever raced it before, and he qualified for I think it was at Daytona. Managed to qualify and even finish up the front despite having like mistimed a pit stop. So goes to
Yeah.
show, I guess, if you hop in with the right attitude, give it a crack, you might do all right.
Yeah. Oh, well, NASCAR's definitely a different art. I was talking to someone, he went and drove one around the Las Vegas circuit, and he said
Yeah,
it's not just driving in circles. He said it's actually very hard to keep it in a straight line on the straights. Um,
yeah,
because they like to pull left, I think. Is it pull? Yeah, pull left.
yeah, because they're a bit staggered. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Uh,
they're a bit of a beast.
yeah. Well, what horsepower do they make? Do you know roughly?
Not sure. Yeah, you'd have to presume that they've got about 700 or so, probably more.
Yeah, about 750
Yeah, okay. I was almost on the mark.
almost. Do they still run the H pattern or?
Um, yes, they do, I believe. Although
Yeah.
they only just moved away from a steering box, so they finally got rack and pinion like a modern car. Single nut now, so no more of the Guido style pit stops.
Ugh, don't like that. But didn't they have a bit of trouble though at the start of the year with the tires? Um,
Um, yeah, I heard a couple
yeah.
things, but yeah, always news coming out of the NASCAR world.
Yeah, definitely. It's always a bit wild over there.
Yeah.
You know. But what sort of drew you back to NASCAR, going back to watch it?
I think it was an iRacing experience I had where, you know, in in real NASCAR races they use a spotter, and I
Mm,
remember just doing a race and taking, I guess my oval rating isn't that great, so I actually decided to try and take one of the oval races serious, and I realized how hard it was without a spotter when you're in an actual pack racing close at the front. Like, damn, this is a pretty different experience. It's a bit of an art. So I started to watch a bit of onboards from YouTube and started to get into watching it like more seriously on TV. And yeah,
mm.
it's pretty awesome style of racing.
Yeah, I like Marcus Ambrose as well as was my dad's favorite.
Yeah.
I think there was a few times where I would have watched him, but apparently he was very good on the road circuits. So
Yeah,
when
I've
it
seen some old footage of him doing all right there on the road stuff.
yeah,
Probably because of his supercars experience and all that.
there were a few rumors that Shane Van Gisbergen was wanting to go to NASCAR. How do you think he would go?
Oh, I'm sure he'd do all right. I think he's had a crack at Speedway, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess if you're in the right car, I'm sure he'd do all right. Be cool to see him in one.
Yeah, definitely. But I will move on. Who has inspired you over your life to push forward and be the best that you can?
Probably like, family, especially dad. Like growing up around or growing up working with him at the track, racing, I guess that he ends up being your number one mentor for a lot of things. So
Mhm.
I have to say that a lot of my drive to keep pushing would have had to have come from him.
Yeah, definitely. I would say the same with my father. He's definitely gave me my morals and values, and he's taught me a lot about spannering
Yeah.
on my own car. One thing he believed was if I could work on my own car, it would be a lot better if a team would pick me up because I'd prefer someone who knows how to work on their car.
Yeah. So I definitely value it. If you understand the mechanics behind the car, makes you appreciate it in more like, makes you
Mm.
appreciate more aspects of the team.
Yeah, definitely. And when your mechanics would be working on your car, I haven't raced for a team, so I don't know to be honest. But if your mechanics were working on your car, I think you'd feel for them a bit more and you'd understand what they have to do.
Yeah, yeah, you appreciate what they're doing more. But I guess you'd feel for them if they were keen to go to the pub and have a beer and you put it in the wall or something. Then you definitely feel for them. But that's when
Yeah.
you should probably get underneath of them and start fixing it.
And yeah, I feel like, I'd feel pretty bad if I put it in the wall for my mechanics to fix.
Yeah, happens to the best of us.
Yeah. If there was anything you would change about your motorsport journey so far, what would it be?
Unlimited budget. I would definitely, yeah, like to change that. I guess in terms of like the pathways I've taken and experiences I've had, I probably wouldn't change any of them. Like all the classes I've been a part of and raced were all fantastic. And I guess without doing them, I wouldn't have ended up here. But yeah, I think having that enough budget every year to go racing, I definitely would have gone back and promised myself that.
Do you think potentially, obviously we never expected it, but do you think potentially if you knew COVID was going to happen, do you think you would have maybe said, well, we'll wait for this 5,000, we'll wait for 2020 and then get straight into it for 2021, do a whole season?
Um, I guess the hard part is to wait.
Yeah.
After COVID, a lot of, I guess, my supporters and everyone else's supporters, like business in general, sort of took a hit in certain sectors. So if you were to wait an extra year, it's still hard. It would have been harder to find the support. So, well, as it
Mm.
was. So I guess even waiting wouldn't have, sort of resolved things as much.
Is there anyone out there that you'd like to mention or thank? Sponsors, stuff like that?
Oh, I guess definitely family for like, getting me into the whole motorsport thing, and then sponsors I've had, you've got a few that have stuck around since day one, sort of like personal ones like AFC Business Solutions, Cartrack Sign and Design. Those guys have, I've known them for a while. So they're ones that, yeah, you call friends more than a sponsor.
Yeah. And what social media platforms can the viewers find you on?
I've got Facebook, Instagram, and I was recently persuaded to get TikTok. So you can find me on TikTok as well. I don't know if we're going to expand to YouTube. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the future, but Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at the moment.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for speaking to me tonight, Antonio. It's been great to hear your story. Hear about your achievements so far, and I look forward to see you racing again. Because you are in a bit of a slump at the minute. If you could get back on track, I'd really love to see that. And to anyone racing this weekend, I hope you have a good one. And remember to drive fast and take chances safely, of course. Thanks, Antonio.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. Hopefully, in due course, we might be racing against each other. So, hopefully the Formula V stuff goes well. Get some
Thank you.
results, get some luck.
Thank you.